This is CBS 6 News in high definition.
5:30 Wednesday, coming up on CBS 6 News. State lawmakers are winding down the current session, and a Pittsfield youngster recovering after being mauled by dogs. Those stories coming up after we check out the forecast. Here's Nick.
Well, thanks, Ed. There may be just a couple of leftover sprinkles this morning, but skies will be clearing out as we head into the afternoon. Most of the region's already done with that rain. 73 degrees by noon, 76 going to be the high this afternoon with generally pleasant conditions. Next several days look to be staying dry. I'll tell you just how warm it's going to get coming up in just a few minutes.
State lawmakers are in the final days of their current session in Albany, but they still have some issues on the table, including further restrictions on tanning salons. The Buffalo News reporting an agreement has been reached to raise the minimum age on those from 14 to 16. Also up in the air, how to handle teacher evaluations. Should the findings be made widely available or only given to parents? They also have to address the overhaul of the New York Racing Association, and Assembly Speaker Sheldon Silver says he's still holding out hope for an increase in the minimum wage despite opposition in the Senate. The session is supposed to end 1 week from tomorrow. A Pittsfield youngster is on the mend after being attacked by a neighbor's dogs. That happened on Monday night at a home on Edward Avenue. 9-year-old Perrin Patel dragged down the stairs and outside by as many as 3 pit bulls. He suffered severe cuts and puncture wounds. His mother says she was finally able to pull him away.
It was horrifying. It was worse than any nightmare. It's just horrible. He was just so defenseless. There's 3 dogs attacking him, and there are just marks all over his body. Besides the gaping wound in the back of his head, his arms, his back, his chest, his legs.
So far, the owners of the animals aren't facing any charges. The dogs are being held at a local shelter. Jessica Patel wants them destroyed. Little Perrin treated and released at Berkshire Medical Center. A no-nonsense federal judge in Manhattan says time is money, and he's already warning both sides that he wants the upcoming trial of former Senate Majority Leader Pedro Espada done sooner rather than later. Espada and his son facing tax charges now. Their embezzlement case across the river in Brooklyn took 2 months to complete. The Post is reporting this time the judge says he's not going to put up with any delays. Put out those cigarettes. Your jump on the day's news continues with a vote by the State University Board of Trustees to ban smoking on SUNY campuses. The decision is up to the legislature. It would make the university one of the largest public schools in the nation to go smoke-free. It could be a rough ride for the State Thruway Authority, a major agency out with a downgrade of its finances. Standard & Poor's raising concerns about the cost of a replacement for the Tappan Zee Bridge. And also warning there may be a need for what they call aggressive toll increases. It's being called the largest student survey ever done on cyberbullying, and the results are clear. 70% of those in grades 3 through 12 want it to be made a crime. We get more on the results of that survey at 10:30 this morning at the Legislative Office building. A big bank boss heads to Capitol Hill today. Susan McGinnis reports he will have a lot of explaining to do.
J.P. Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon will apologize to members of Congress today for risky trades the bank undertook that led to huge losses. In prepared testimony, Dimon says, "We have let a lot of people down and we are sorry for it." The bank took part in a trading strategy known as hedging, which is actually designed to reduce the risk of big losses. Dimon will explain today that the strategy backfired, increasing risk and leading to at least $2 billion in losses and possibly as much as $5 billion.
They were betting like you would do at the crap table in Las Vegas, and they bet the wrong way.
Senator Tim Johnson, the head of the Senate Banking Committee, plans to ask Dimon how can a bank take on far too much risk if the point of the trades was to reduce risk in the first place? Or was the goal really to make money? Some argue the risky trades would have violated part of the 2010 financial reform bill called Dodd-Frank. The Volcker rule, which has yet to go into effect, prevents banks from making certain trades for their own profit. But Dimon was part of a push that exempts some banks from that rule.
Mr. Dimon wanted a version of the Volcker rule that frankly wouldn't do very much. I think we now have a stronger argument for a Volcker rule that says no to a bank.
Some argue the regulations will prevent banks from doing business.
It makes it more difficult for those firms to function and perform their duty for the shareholder value.
The Volcker rule is set to go into effect next month. Susan McGinnis, CBS News, Washington.
A former Albany police officer is ordered jailed. Robert Shunk sentenced in Half Moon Town Court to the maximum, a year in the county jail, after being convicted of criminal mischief in a 2010 case involving a former girlfriend. Shunk had already been fired by Albany police following a separate incident. An attempted murder charge for Troy teen. Police say 18-year-old Daquan Jones is the one who walked up to a group of people on 6th Avenue last month and opened fire. One person shot in the arm. Police say this all started in a fight over a dice game. Jones says he's not guilty. It's a birthday party for a former president, the first President George Bush, turning 88 on Tuesday. He celebrated by taking in the premiere of 41. He was the 41st president. Documentary on his time in office produced for HBO. Game 1 of the NBA Finals goes to the home team in convincing fashion. Didn't start out that way last night in Oklahoma City. It's all Miami early. LeBron James with the steal and the jam. And the Heat opening things up. But in the second half, especially in the fourth quarter, it's a different story when Kevin Durant takes charge and puts that one down with the exclamation point. And there's Pat Riley, the Linton High School grad, Schenectady native, Heat president, not too pleased with the way things are going. Final score here, 105-94. Oklahoma City wins Game 1. Game 2 in this series tomorrow night, back in OKC. So we're at 5:36. You know what Riley's thinking? I knew I should have taken over that coaching job this year.
Yeah, well.
You know he will next year if the Heat doesn't get it done.
Sure. Well, we'll have to see. There's still plenty of time to fight back, but they're going to have a tough time if they're
You don't want to
away.
lose the first game.
Right.
You put yourself in an immediate hole, and then you're pretty much, you have to win now in Game 2, but you're still on the road.
Right. Game 2 is in Oklahoma. They're going to have a tough time.
Right. All right, 5:36 now.
Well, today we're still looking at some clouds this morning, but we've got a very pleasant looking afternoon ahead of us, and it's going to be the stretch of a string of about 5 or 6 days in a row of nice weather to get outside. Right now, mostly cloudy in downtown Albany. Here's a look at the current temperature. It's 61 degrees.
$300,000, the price tag for an expensive hoax after the Coast Guard was told of big trouble off the coast of New Jersey. And this isn't the first time.
Motor yacht, blind date, how do you copy? We have 3 deceased, 9 injured. We've had an explosion on board, that's why we're taking on water.
The Coast Guard describes the caller as calm and convincing, sharing a harrowing story of danger on the Atlantic, even using nautical language.
We have 21 souls on board, 20 in the water.
Including intricate details of the scene off Sandy Hook.
I'm in 3 feet of water on the bridge. I'm going to stay by the radio as long as I can before I have to go overboard.
But all of it was a lie.
This is the biggest hoax in regards to the number of helicopters and boats that we actually had respond to a case.
Some 200 first responders scrambled to look for victims and debris by air, water, and land, and even set up a staging area for mass casualties at a cost of nearly $90,000 to the Coast Guard alone. Several other agencies assisted, including the NYPD.
Terrible waste of resources.
The prank is not only a huge waste of taxpayer dollars, the Coast Guard says it put all the responders and the public in harm's way for no reason.
It's particularly dangerous when several helicopters are all converging on the same point in the ocean to initiate a rescue.
The call mirrors a hoax from last June when someone claimed a sailboat was sinking, also near Sandy Hook. Investigators are reviewing the audio of that call to see if it was the same suspect.
Electronic array is down. I'm on a solar-powered radio right now.
Making a false distress call is a felony, carrying 5 to 10 years in prison, a $250,000 fine, and complete reimbursement for the entire cost of the search.
Elsewhere this morning at 5:44, that big wildfire near Denver, it continues to grow. And the smoke from the blaze continues to spread. Now it's covering the mile-high city in a haze. They're making little progress in efforts to contain it so far. That fire so far has claimed 1 life. Quite a story out of the Florida Everglades. The captain of a tour boat has his hand bitten off by an alligator. He manages to get back to shore. The gator is captured and killed. The hand recovered. Doctors hope to reattach it. How would you like to drive really fast on your way to work this morning? There are plans in the works near Austin, Texas, to make the speed limit on one toll road 85 miles an hour.
I think it'd be just as safe as going as the 80-mile-an-hour speed limit, but a little better because you could get to up and down North and South Austin quicker.
People drive that fast anyway, and I think I don't think it would cause any more wrecks.
In fact, some experts say the road would be safer because the 85-mile-an-hour limit would be strictly enforced, and anyone who wants to go slower will probably avoid that route. Thanks, but no thanks. An update on the story we brought you yesterday. The local chapter of the Ku Klux Klan near Atlanta rejected, told it can't adopt a highway. That sets the stage for a lawsuit now. The Klan has actually won elsewhere. We'll see how that works out in this case.
Could be an interesting trial.
The state was actually threatening to, among its options, shut down the program completely rather than let the Klan put up the sign that says they're sponsoring this portion of the highway.
That's tricky. I mean, it seems a little bit like cutting off your nose to spite your face in that scenario, but
a lot of people find the Klan involvement offensive.
Yes, yes, I can see that.
So they have to take that into consideration,
yeah.
too. All right, 546, nothing offensive about later on today and then beyond, right?
Yeah, if you like dry, sunny weather, you're not going to have much to complain about.
I much prefer the clouds and the rain myself.
Hey, some people do. I've met a few that do, but most people I think are going to side with you here, Ed. Let's take a look at what we got this morning, starting off with some clouds, but things will be clearing out as we head into the afternoon, getting in on that sunshine. Temperatures today in the mid-70s by the